No, Richard Medhurst. 95% of the time, Richard Medhurst, the beast, the lion-hearted, he's right. 95% of the time, he's right. But he just keeps on doubling down on Assad's talking points about how this was the greatest democracy, the greatest election. Look at this election. That, there it is. They had an election, and that declares it. Syria is a great democracy. They have, the people have the power there. Assad has no power, all the power to the people. All by and for the people. Syria's got a great constitution, great Bill of Rights. They're not a police state. Aaron Mate said that they're a police state. Aaron Mate said they're a tightly controlled police state, and they throw anybody who questions the government in jail. So this is the great democracy of the fucking, they're in a war. They're in a war, and I'll say this, actually let's listen to Richard Medhurst first. Go ahead, Mr. Medhurst.
Election.
He's making fun of TYT. List one little...
news is that he didn't win by 99%, because that's what happens when you kill, maim, displace, and otherwise completely control the opposition.
What? Completely control the opposition? How does Bashar al-Assad completely control the opposition if half the country is under opposition rule, you stupid fucking clown?
Okay, so Richard Medhurst, she wasn't talking about the opposition being the enemies, the occupiers and all that. She was saying the opposition being the two candidates who ran against Assad, who only got 5% of the vote. The two candidates who ran against Assad probably voted for Assad. They only got 5% of the vote. They probably didn't even vote for themselves. 5% of the fucking vote? My God, what a great competitive election. How come Richard Medhurst doesn't say shit about the, Iran's presidential election? Was that a great democracy too? Because Freedom House gives Syria's democracy a 1. Syria's democracy gets a 1. Assad has been in there. His daddy was doing all them crimes for 30 fucking years. He's been in there for 30 fucking years. You know how I know Assad's a totalitarian dictator? Because he's been in power for 30 fucking years. It's a dynasty. 60 years? Well, right, you get 1 decade. You only get 1 fucking decade. You want another fucking decade? Fuck you. Let alone 3, 4, 5, 6 decades. Richard Medhurst will never get to be, I think he's Syrian, right? Syrian, British or something. I don't know. He's all over the place. But if he is a Syrian citizen, Richard Medhurst will never be president of Syria as long as the Assads are in power. So, Richard Medhurst, I love Richard Medhurst. I disagree on this one point. And the one point is, he keeps on saying that most of the people support Assad. We have no idea if most of the people support Assad, because we don't have a free and fair and competitive election. That wasn't a free and fair election. The turnout rate, 13 million people, very impressive. Virginia only had a 10% turnout rate. With the primary that just re-elected Terry McAuliffe, he's probably going to become governor. Why? Because, 5 million Virginians stood home and said, fuck elections, fuck democracy, and they, either no candidates or they don't know how to go vote. They don't know where the polling station is. So Virginia's not a democracy, let alone goddamn Syria. Virginia's not a fucking democracy. You want to see a good democracy? Look at Germany. Look at Peru's got some good shit going on. Colorado. Colorado's my favorite democracy in the world. I love Colorado's democracy. I will fight and die for Colorado's constitution, referendum, recall. I'll fight and die for Colorado's democracy. You're goddamn motherfucking right. So I'm just going to say one main point, and I'm going to say the one main point over and over again after Richard Medhurst keeps talking.
Our country is not under his control. How does he control the opposition? What planet do you live on, you fucking clown, you dunce?
Again, he was talking about the two candidates, not about the enemies. She wasn't talking about the enemies. She was just talking about the two opposition candidates.
Look at this clown. She's unbelievable.
Now, Francesca Fiorentini, in spite of the force of vote thing, she gave an explanation. She seems to actually care about the people. She seems to actually give a shit about the people. And so she's also a comedian, so she wants to make us laugh. She just wants to make us laugh. So I like Nikki Glaser. Nikki Glaser's a comedian. Beautiful. She just talks about farts and, dicks and pussies and whatnot. And she doesn't say anything political. And it's bullshit. People in America are suffering, and it pissed me off. But then I was like, well, she is really fucking pretty and fucking hilarious as shit, too. And since we're suffering, we need to laugh. So I give, Nikki Glaser a complete pass, and so why would I expect any more out of Francesca Fiorentini? I would love for, all my celebrities to be Che Guevara. I would love for all my celebrities to get us to the promised land, to be MLK kind of people. But I'm starting to realize that, maybe celebrities are maybe they're just humans. Maybe they're just like you and me. I don't know.
There were a couple of candidates who ran against him that he himself may have selected, like many autocrats tend to do.
Did you hear what she said? I think there may have been other candidates who ran against him. Yes, there were. And he may have selected them.
She thought it, and it was true. So she thought, the think was true, and then the may, I guess you're going to say the may isn't true or something. It was slightly off. There was 2 oppositional candidates. They only got 5%. You have to get 35 senators. You want to sit there and say how great the democracy is? You got a People's Assembly who took 51 candidates and dwindled them down to 3. 51 candidates. Hey, Syria, how many people wants to run for president? 51 people raised their hand. 600 people raised their hand, and they, cut it down to 7. But Syria cut 51 down to 3. So Iran cut more, but they left, more candidates in the field, so it's actually a competitive election in Iran. There was no competition. Everybody knew who was going to win. Everybody in the goddamn world, Richard Medhurst, knew who was going to win. He knew Assad had this thing in the bag. Well, you thought the motherfucking, douchebag number 1 or douchebag number 3? Was it the Libertarian or the Green Party? Which of the 2 opposition candidates did Richard Medhurst actually think was going to beat Assad? Which one did he actually think had a real chance? Richard Medhurst, no Syrian can ever become president of Syria as long as the Assads are in power. And I'll mention these things, okay? So off the top, the main thing is fuck the dirty wars, fuck the occupation, fuck the sanctions. I am against U.S. imperialism, and that's why I like a lot of what Richard says. But sometimes, and this is also with Tim Black, I like the criticisms, and you're saying a lot of the same criticisms, but are you saying, I feel like we're on the same team, right, fighting against those rat bastards, but it almost feels like sometimes you're saying, I'm the rat bastard, and it's like, motherfucker, I've been, fighting against this shit my whole fucking life. You got some better ideas? Is there something, a better tactic, a better option, something that you think that I could do better that would make it more effective? Because I don't think I have much say-so whatsoever in goddamn the United States of America. I'm just a voter, so I get, once every 4 years they ask my opinion about shit, but that's about it. So, fuck the occupation, fuck the dirty wars, fuck the sanctions. Fuck the stupid shit that America keeps on doing to the entire war, to the entire world. I have no illusions that the United States government was trying to bring Syria democracy. They weren't. The United States government was not trying to bring Syria any democracy whatsoever. The United States government, behind closed doors, the military-industrial complex, they just keep expanding the empire. They're taking over new territories, new occupation. This is hegemony. This is empire. So Syria doesn't help the working class of America. The Syria, I don't want to take Syria. What the fuck? How is helping, taking Syria help me out? The empire doesn't help the working class out. So fuck imperialism, okay? Fuck imperialism, fuck the occupation, fuck the U.S. sanctions, which are starving the people of Syria, fuck the sanctions on Iran, fuck the sanctions on Venezuela. The American sanctions that's helping to kill the people of Venezuela and Iran and Syria. And is that what we want to do? Is that what we want to do? I think we want to win hearts and minds. We need to win the people over to our side, not hurt them so fucking bad. Their own dictator is hurting them. So we shouldn't be piling on top of their, his bullshit with our bullshit. So just the people get, victimized over and over again by all these right-wing sons of bitches. So the U.S. government is not bringing democracy to Syria. It's hegemony and empire, maybe for Chevron, the oil companies, to get an oil pipeline going through Syria. So I am not committed to the Syrian war. I don't know what the fuck is, to me it looks like hegemony and empire just like for most of the things. And then you got the Yemeni genocide and a whole bunch of shit that American empire is fucking up on. And goddamn Cameroon, hey American government, what are you doing in Cameroon, huh? What the fuck? You're going to be on that side of that dictator than try to say, so it's a hypocritical policy. Virginia don't have democracy. Cameroon don't have democracy. But we're going to say that Syria has to have democracy? Fuck you. Fuck you. I live in America. Most Americans do not believe in democracy at all. They don't believe in caucuses. They don't believe in, getting into groups of people and voting on things as a body. They're individualistic or just dumb. They're just dumb. There's not capitalism. There's not socialism. There's not fascist. It's just dumbness, just stupidity. And it's, So, U.S. government bringing democracy? No. No. And I will also say this, that, criticizing Syria's democracy while they're in war, while they're having to, endure the dirty wars, the occupation, and the sanctions, you're kind of kicking Syria in the nuts. This war is going on for 10 fucking years, so it's like, Jesus Christ, it makes me think about Yemen. The Houthis must really fucking believe in their shit to fight a war for 10 fucking years. Al-Shabaab in Somalia, too. They've been fighting their shit 10, 20 years. My God, against the empire, they must really believe in their stuff, but then the empire must really believe in their stuff, too. So I think it is a kind of an imperialist kick in the nuts. Right, okay, fine, Syria. You're not going to let us, occupy and take you over and, throw us out in the garbage. Fine, fine. But you don't have a democracy. You ain't got a democracy. So I could feel Richard Medhurst being mad. We got all this other shit, and you're going to point out that we don't have a democracy? We're driving a car, right? The car don't have an engine. There's no fucking gasoline, no goddamn tires. And then there's, 4 people, and then one person says, we got to make this decision, and then there's somebody, in the background saying, well, you didn't vote on it. You didn't vote on that decision. Motherfucker, I got to worry about the engine and the tires and this and that. And are you even concerned about the shit that I'm concerned about? Are you trying to get this car fixed, or are you just some fucking asshole barking, at the goddamn moon in the background? You're barking at the fucking moon in the background. I'm supposed to listen to you. I'm supposed to give a shit about what the fuck you say. And last but not least, so again, fuck the dirty wars, fuck the occupation, and fuck the U.S. sanctions. Richard Medhurst, you're 100%, you're 99% right about most of everything that you say. But when it comes to the democracy in Syria, this great democracy, we do not need to export Syria's democracy to the world either. Russia doesn't need to do Syria's democracy. Virginia doesn't need to do Syria's democracy. Florida, Peru should not do Syria's democracy. Iran is, there's a lot of similarities and differences between they get a 17 though on the Freedom House. So there's more democracy in Iran than there is in Syria. So I feel you, Richard. I feel you, man. I love you to death. I think you're fucking incredible. You're a fucking beast. Get there. You're fucking pissed. You're mad. I get your passion, your rage. I understand all those things. I'm sick of American imperialism. I'm sick of the occupation. I'm sick of the dirty wars. But you know what else I'm also sick of? I'm sick of not having democracy. I'm sick of living in a democratic country where they go around saying they're killing people in the name of democracy, and there's no fucking democracy here. Where's the Democratic Republic? Where are the fucking caucuses? Basically, Americans, we get, brainwashed in public schools to listen to the Fuhrer. We don't go into public schools and learn about freedom and democracy and the Bill of Rights. We shut up and sit down and listen to the goddamn fascists in charge. So we don't know how to get along with each other. We don't know how to talk to one another. We don't know how solidarity. We've been taught to be against each other since we've been born, and to follow the fascist leader in charge, public education. That's the whole point. 13 years of that shit. They rob us of our childhood to put us through this shit where we just obey, and we're not talking to each other, not making good friendships and this and that. When, public school, public education could be it could turn everything around. We got a public building where we all get along and we're trying to educate our kids, but also trying to get along in the community. So we don't have democracy in the public schools. We don't practice democracy of, by, for the people. I feel very much alone when I talk about how much I love democracy in America. I don't know anybody that loves democracy. I don't know anybody that, talks about Iran or all the political assassinations that happened in Mexico. Mexico believes in their democracy. Nearly 100 fucking people got killed. 100 people got killed in Mexico to run for office. You won't see that kind of courage and bravery here in the United States of America. So we get elections, we vote. I like Colorado's democracy because we get, referendum recall, and we get a lot of tools and shit. But what we don't have is we don't have instant runoff voting. They have a caucus system, but if, politics, right, some fucking corrupt fucking shithead, Castilla County, the Democratic Party is very corrupt, and so they don't have caucuses where they say, hey, members of the public, come talk to us and let's try to collectively solve our problems. That doesn't happen in America. I've been in this, I've been in Kentucky most of the time, but I've been in this country for 40 fucking years. People do not get together. We do not have a coalition to pick progressive candidates. We don't have civil societies. We don't, talk about manners and fucking this and that. There's like Toastmasters and there's like different associations, but as a whole, as a generalization, I think you could be, look at Virginia. 10% turned out. So those are the people that are paying attention. The Democrats, the ones that care. 90% of the ones that give a shit boycotted their election. 90% of Virginians boycotted their election. And I'm the only one talking about that too, so what the fuck? So the last thing I'll mention is that I did not watch TYT, and I did not see this segment until afterwards. I just came to the same conclusion that Anna and Francesca had come to, you know, at the same time apparently that they had come to it. So I was just, you know, kind of giving an imperialist kick in the nuts. Well, you're not a democracy, right? And you're not a democracy. And frankly, if people do give a shit about Syria, then they would care about the people of Syria being empowered. The people of Syria need instant runoff voting. The people of Syria need referendum, initiative, and recall. The people of Kentucky need an initiative, referendum, and recall. The people of Kentucky need higher turnout rate. So we need democracy in the United States. We need democracy in Syria. I want to see the people actually be in charge, ruled by the people. This is, you know, the end of history, right? Democracy is where it's at. What are you going to defend? A fucking totalitarian dictatorship? Get the fuck out of here. And then, you know, Britain's got a constitution. Britain's got those royalists. I think I'm pretty fucking consistent with this shit because, you know, fuck the British royalists, fuck their fucking fake-ass democracy. They don't even have a goddamn constitution. What Bill of Rights do the British have? Yeah, they're supposed to be a good-ass democracy or whatever. Bullshit. Bullshit. I also heard that we could have bought Iraq cheaper than it took, you know, for the military invasion. We could have bought Iraq cheaper, so we could probably buy Syria cheaper than it takes for all these military fucking war games. So I'm opposed to war. I'm opposed to imperialism. I think America should just mind our own damn business. We spend trillions of fucking dollars to take over the world. Meanwhile, you got bridges collapsing, homeless people, poor people, police brutality. There's a lot of fucking problems. A lot of people in America are doing fucking fantastic. So I guess, you know, some families figured it out and other families didn't. And the families that did figure it out, well, they're not going to, you know, tell us that democracy is a good thing because they got power. Democracy is only good for the people, you know, the peasants that don't have power. If you're, you know, smart. If you're a peasant and you have no power and you're opposed to democracy, then you're a dumb motherfucker. You are dumb as fucking all get out.
Oh, so you're talking out of your ass.
No, I wasn't.
She can't even get her story straight. She thinks, oh, he may have done, this is reporting, right? I think. Yeah, may he have done that? You know, I don't know. Yeah, yeah, he did. He totally did. Thanks for...
Did he actually pick the two opposition candidates, okay? You know, just sit there and make fun of whatever she's trying to say, but the point behind what she's saying is correct. There is no democracy in Syria. Did Assad pick the two opposition candidates? You need 35 people. You need 35 senators to sign off on a candidate for anybody to run in Syria. Could you imagine if that's what it took to run as a president in America? No, you want to be president, you got to get 35 senators? You can't get goddamn 50 senators to agree on anything, let alone 35 senators to agree on an opposition candidate. Get the fuck out of here. So Richard Medhurst, you know, if you think those two, you know, 5%ers, the Libertarian, Green Party, whoever those two 5%, you know, opposition candidates were, you really thought they had a chance? You're stupid as shit. You're dumb. You are dumb. You thought that those two little fucking candidates actually had a, you know, a chance? He dwindled 51 down to 3. What happened to the other 48 candidates? You're telling me all 48 candidates were dog shit? You're actually telling me this was a free and fair election. Does Richard Medhurst actually believe in democracy? I have to really question it at this point. I mean, okay, Syria's going through some shit. They're cheating because they have to deal with all this bullshit, right? Occupation, sanctions, dirty wars. So they're cheating, and okay, they had a fake election or whatever to make it seem like they got 13 million to turn out, so that was a, you know, impressive turnout rate. But they didn't have a choice. They got to the ballot, and they didn't have a choice. It was Assad or, you know, Assad, or it was Assad, right? Or two fucking no-name motherfuckers. Jesus Christ. And she's probably right that the two no-names probably voted for Assad. So he's getting all pissy and, you know, this is good, you know, TV and shit. But I feel like he's not, he's kind of losing his he just got hired on by RT. And, you know, I guess there is one thing that, like, irks the shit out of me. He wants to keep on repeating that most Syrians support Assad. We don't know since we don't have a free and fair election. Maybe show me a poll. Show me a poll that says, you know, most Syrians support Assad. But that's, since we don't have free or fair election or an actual poll, then I don't know, you know, I will say this, that he has a broad-based support. He's got lots of support, but we don't know how much is real and how much is fake, you know. Unless you had a free and fair election, you cannot figure that shit out. And I would love to know. I would love to know if these Syrian people actually love Assad. If they really love Assad this goddamn much, okay. You know, all bets are off, but you needed a fair election. You needed somebody that could have, you know, McClellan could have taken it away from Abraham Lincoln. George McClellan could have won, you know, the presidency during the Civil War. It was 55% to 44%. It wasn't 95% to 2%. It was 55 to 45%. It was close. It was only 10 fucking point difference. It's only a 10-point difference, and then you're going to tell me a 90-point difference? 20-point difference is a fucking landslide. 20-point difference is a landslide. 10 points, okay, somewhat respectable during a wartime. But you're going to tell me that a 90-point difference was fair and competitive and democratic and right and proper? Fuck the fuck off. There's no democracy. The democracy, if there's it doesn't function. There's no democracy in Syria because Assad controls the whole goddamn thing, and the elections aren't competitive, so there's no fucking way that anybody else could have ever become president. Now, with Iran, they're mostly lack of democracy. They got a lackluster democracy, but they got 7 candidates. That the Khomeini fucking picked, so Assad, the Assad of Iran picked, 7 candidates, but any one of those 7 candidates can win. And it's not Khomeini. Khomeini's got his, favorite or whatever, but he's not in it. And so in a way, Iran's election is more democratic because they're choosing their number 2 spot. You can't become president in, you can't be the number 1 fucking guy, the Khomeini. You can't be the supreme leader in Iran either. So the best thing that the Iranians can hope for is to be the number 2 guy. And that's, if Assad was doing something like that, maybe have an election for the vice president for Assad. Does he have a vice president? Just do an election for that. Have Assad look over that shit. But no, he throws himself into the fucking mix and then says he won, all the ballots. That's not a real democracy, not by a long shot, not even fucking close to being a democracy. So your anger is very much displaced. Is it because Francesca, you like her too?
Horse manure.
Horse manure. What a bunch of horse manure.
Run against him.
Horse shit? Is that what you're trying to say? Horse shit?
Even voted for him themselves.
She has no clue how Syrian politics work.
I'm not a huge Francesca fan. She's getting married, so I guess, the possibilities of us ever getting together, it's over, right? It's over.
They're approved by the People's Assembly.
I'm feeling real protective right now. I'm like, hey, don't say shit about Francesca. TYT is wrong about a lot of shit. Anna Kasparian going after Aaron Mate was fucking bullshit. The occupation is bullshit. I'm, right there with Richard Medhurst on a whole bunch of shit. But Syria, you ain't got no democracy, motherfuckers. You ain't got no democracy. Shut the fuck up, man. At least America's got elections. Colorado, we got, 90% turnout rate. Written ballots, so you get 30 fucking days. So the For the People Act, I think, would be good for America. I'm happy with my democracy in Colorado, so really all I want from my democracy here is instant runoff voting. That's the last thing that Colorado needs is instant runoff voting, and actually I just heard that there's an instant runoff voting bill that went to Jared Polis's desk. So that's the last democratic tool that I need to be happy with my democracy here in Colorado. A lot of the other states need to catch up, and then the American election for president, we still got the Electoral College, so that's not even close to being democratic. All right, Richard Medhurst.
The the Constitutional Court that makes the final approval. Listen, man, there's criteria for this. You can't just put your favorite person in the election. You need 35 seats in Parliament. There's an entire process. She has no clue.
35 seats? Could you get 35 representatives to back your candidacy or what have you? You'd have to start running. The way you do it in America is it's basically just willpower, but you got to get the nomination of the Democrat or the Republican, or if you're going to be an independent, then you have to get like thousands of signatures. If you get the Republican or Democrat nomination, or to run as a Republican or Democrat, you only need maybe, 5, 10, maybe like 100 signatures. So it's really about going out, getting some signatures, and then I've seen California, they'll have an option where you can pay $5,000 or, get a bunch of signatures or some shit. So it's either pony up some money or get the signatures in. So if you get the signatures in, you do the residency requirements and you pay the money, then you get to run for office. So there's a process in America, but this is,
I don't think she can even place Syria on a map. She has no clue what she's talking about.
I Googled Syria just to make sure I could place Syria on the map after he said that.
And can you think this is where people get their foreign policy from? Can you imagine what an atrocity that is? There are people who actually come and watch this channel and think that what they're saying is true.
I didn't watch TYT and then say Syria had a, shit democracy. Basically thought that Syria had a shit democracy before. And then I heard they ran this segment and I'm like, God, I'm making the same fucking jokes that they were making. So we came to the same conclusion. Me, Anna, Francesca, we all came to the same conclusion about Syria. Look, I don't want to take over any country. I don't want to, self-determination. Syria, figure your own shit out. But if I truly love Syria and I truly cared about the Syrian people, then I want the people of Syria to have the power. I don't want them to be running roughshod. I don't want them, I want running water and internet. I want them to lead good lives. And so ultimately I think democracy would be best for Syria, just like it'd be best for Germany and Virginia and Kentucky and, you know, Iran and on down.
Unfortunately, though, you can go watch any mainstream media channel, and they will say the same thing, which is why CYT is gutter journalism. It's garbage. It's no different from Deutsche Welle. It's no different from, you know, Sky News, Channel 4, BBC. It's no different. It's garbage. They all sound the exact same.
Self.
But, you know, we got to give CYT credit for being especially bad.
It is not me or, like, my government's role to at all intervene to create democracy, but sure as hell, there are many Syrians who've lost their lives trying to continue what was the Arab Spring that popped up more than 10 years ago to actually break the Assad stranglehold on the country.
So that's going to break Richard Medhurst, too. She mentioned the Arab Spring. So is this CIA? Is this influenced? Maybe the people of Syria don't like oppression. Maybe they hate oppression. Maybe there's some Syrians that actually wanted democracy. Maybe the CIA is a part of it. Maybe there's a big, you know, there is a fucking, you know, the Western powers are trying to occupy. They're trying to take over Syria for whatever fucking reasons. So for empire, for hegemony, not for democracy. That doesn't mean that the Syrian people shouldn't get democracy. I think the Western powers stay the fuck off of Syria. And Syria, rise up, get yourself some democracy. Constitution, Bill of Rights, referendum, recall, initiative, instant runoff voting. These are, you know, get instant runoff voting and you'll have a better democracy than every, you know, state in America.
And look what
except for Maine.
Since.
What is she talking about?
I'm going to mention this just to give him some points. So Richard Medhurst, he's going to point out that Idlib, you know, there was protest in Idlib, but apparently Idlib is being controlled by Al-Qaeda and all this. Al-Qaeda and this and that. So Idlib is, you know, being run by the Al-Nusra and the 50, you know, Baskin-Robbins flavors of terrorism. So you got 50 flavors of terrorism in Idlib. And then the Kurdish majority, he criticizes how they mentioned, I guess they read Germany, an article from Germany, and they talked about this one region, a Kurdish majority region, didn't get to vote, and then he pointed out that there's more Arabs in that region than Kurdish majority, so they just made that part up, but there was a lot of Kurds there, and did they get to vote? And the points that he does make, and this is, you know, why I watch Richard Medhurst, I didn't know Idlib was controlled by Al-Qaeda. When I was looking at, you know, the situation, there was people in Idlib that was, you know, protesting the fucking thing. So if that's Al-Qaeda, well, shit, I don't want to, you know, well, Al-Qaeda is protested. That's not what I'm saying. Well, Al-Qaeda protested it because Al-Qaeda is a bastion of democracy. Not at all. So that's a good point. Don't point to Idlib. You're going to say, look at this town of Idlib. The town of Idlib doesn't like Assad. The town of Idlib is a bunch of Al-Qaeda motherfuckers. You remember 9/11? America, you on the side of people that perpetuated 9/11 or people that, well, what you doing with the war on terror there? You know, the authority to use military force just to go after Al-Qaeda, that was all. So, you know, don't point out Idlib as it's, you know, it's Al-Qaeda, right? So, and then also the other thing that Richard Medhurst had said that was interesting is that he, you know, the article that he debunks, you know, just because you contradict something doesn't mean you debunk anything. But he contradicted a thing, and actually I think he does debunk this because what he's, the criticism of the article was saying that not everybody in Syria got to vote. Not everybody in Syria got to vote. Well, I pointed out Abraham Lincoln and George McClellan, right? Well, not everybody during that, you know, election got to vote either. All the rebellion states, right? All the Confederate states, they didn't get to vote in the United States election. So the enemies of the United States of America did not get to vote in the election of 1864. So when they're sitting there saying that, you know, the Turkish region and this and that, and there wasn't, you know, they didn't allow everybody to vote, well, apparently the embassies of America, the U.S. Embassy in Germany and UK, they didn't let Syrians go into their embassy to go vote. And so, you know, that wasn't very helpful with the democracy, right? You can't go to the embassy to vote. Where are they supposed to go vote? And then the biggest point is that you know, there's a lot of places that's occupied by enemy forces. So you're telling me that you know, that fucking region over there, that's Idlib, you expect Idlib to go out and go vote? Idlib's being run by Al-Qaeda. They wouldn't even want to vote even if they had the opportunity to go vote. I bet the people would, but not the leadership, right? And so, why did they not vote in Idlib? Because Al-Qaeda's running Idlib. The enemy is running Idlib. And so to say that not everybody got to vote, you know, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure there's, you know, there's political prisoners and shit, but to say that everybody, you know, the people who did live didn't get to vote, or the people in this region or that region that's being controlled by the enemies, they didn't get to vote. Well, of course, that's kind of a situation where the United States is gouging out the eyes of Syria and then reproaching them for